Okay, good morning. So, this week we're going to be doing something different. I have to get ready for my homeschool year. So, this week we're going to be doing just a couple of posts rather than the normal 4 posts per week. So, I'm going to post a video today, and this is going to be an overview for the week for Monday through Friday. And then I'm going to hop back on Friday and either post another video if this ends up being successful, or I will do a regular written post for the weekend on Friday. So that I have a little bit of time off so that I can work on getting my homeschool stuff together. So welcome everybody. If you're new here, this week is going to be something that is out of the normal scope of things. I don't normally do video overviews of the week. I normally do 3 posts during the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I do a weekend post for my paid subscribers. So if you're new here, welcome, but this week is going to be unusual, and then in the beginning of September, we'll get back to the normal 4 posts per week on that regular written newsletter with the podcast audio. So good morning. Grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this real laid back, candid, and just sort of you and me. We're going to talk about these charts, and we're just going to kind of go through it and just sort of have a little easy go at it. Okay. So I've got my decaf here. I've already had my caffeinated coffee for the day. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So here we have the chart for Monday, August 7th, which happens to be my middle son's birthday. So happy birthday. And actually it's looking like a really nice solar return chart for him. So I'm happy to see that. There's a lot of positive aspects going on for him this year. But for this Monday, the main thing is that we are still in this Sun square Jupiter energy. The Sun and Jupiter squared over the weekend. On Sunday it was exact, but you can see that Jupiter here is still at 14 degrees Taurus, 18 minutes, and the Sun is 14 degrees Leo, 43 minutes. So it's just moving off of that square. Now the Sun square Jupiter, because Jupiter is the greater benefic, usually this means a positive aspect, even though it is a square aspect, which is the nature of Mars and can bring struggle and conflict and strife. But it does bring manifestations. So the Sun square Jupiter could bring really wonderful things like more abundance or success or a promotion in your job or something like that. If you didn't have anything happen over the weekend, don't worry, there's still time. While these are still within 3 degrees of their engagement, which is going to be for the next couple of days, you could still see a Sun square Jupiter manifest in your life. So that could be some sort of success or some sort of abundance or happiness that happens, or a feeling of expansion in some part of your life. So that is still in effect on Monday. We have Venus here in Leo, still retrograde. She is approaching her square to Uranus, which is going to be happening on Wednesday. So that is the big day this week that we're going to focus more heavily on, is Wednesday. That's where when most of the transits are happening this week, is Wednesday. So mostly on Monday, we have the moon that just entered Taurus early in the middle of the night. If you're here in the United States, I'm on the East Coast, so I'm going to be primarily focusing my timing on the East Coast time. So whatever times I might say, just do whatever calculation for whatever time zone you are in. So Monday, the 2 transits I wanted to talk about for Monday was that right before the moon ingressed into Taurus, early in the morning, she did make a square to Pluto. Late last night or early this morning, it was exactly at 12:12 a.m. Eastern time. So the moon square Pluto could have brought up some heavy, deep emotional feelings. Although the moon in Aries is going to just go with what she wants. So there could have been sort of the feeling of, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to go about it. And it's sort of a business-like attitude in terms of, I'm going to initiate this and this is what's going to happen. So there could have been, some deep feelings that came up, but then utilizing those to make whatever happen that you want to have happen. Then the moon moved into Taurus. So the moon in Taurus it's an exalted moon. The moon is exalted here in Taurus, which means that she has more power to be more lunar, to bring more fortune into your life. And we're talking good fortune. So this is more prosperity, more abundance, more joy, more happiness. And we're focusing on the senses with Taurus. So we're focusing on the things that bring us more pleasure. So, and also the essentials. So we're talking good food, good company, good rest, good exercise, all of those good, things that make life good and are essential to sort of creating a happy, abundant life. So we're going to have the moon in Taurus until Wednesday. That's when she's going to shift into Gemini. So that moon in Taurus energy is going to be making square aspects to the sun in Leo and Venus in Leo. And we don't have anything going on in the other parts of the zodiac to that moon in Taurus in a square or opposition relationship. We do have the moon making a sextile early on Monday to Saturn. So, and Saturn is in Pisces here in retrograde. You can see this part in the chart. So that's going to make us feel like we've got, a handle on things. We're getting things done. We're being productive. And that's a good sort of supportive energy for the moon in Taurus. So Monday, all in all, I feel like is going to feel like a pretty good day. It's going to be pretty happy. There's lots of potential for just good feelings and success and joy, and not a whole lot of edgy things going on Monday, except for that moon square Pluto, which really happened late Sunday night. Really, that's when it's going to, manifest. Although I don't feel like that was a very edgy, emotional thing because the moon was in Aries. So we're going to go ahead and advance to Tuesday. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go ahead to Tuesday. So here we have August 8th, Tuesday, August 8th. The moon is still in Taurus. Now, on Tuesday, August 8th, you can see that she's right here by Jupiter. So the couple of things that are happening on Tuesday that are notable is that the moon is going to be conjoining Jupiter. So that's going to be really great. That happens. Let me check my notes here for the timing here. So 4:10 a.m. Eastern time, the moon is going to conjoin Jupiter. So now the timing with astrology is always, the time leading up to the transit, the time during the transit, and the time exactly after. So any transits with the moon are really going to be permeating the whole day because the moon moves so quickly. So we could, feel this moon Jupiter like, in the morning if we are actually up at 4 in the morning, or we could just feel it sort of permeate throughout the whole day, that sort of vibe. So this is a great transit to be starting our day with. Moon conjoined Jupiter. The Jupiter is a greater benefic. It's going to bring us more prosperity and abundance and feelings of expansion, which is, I know it's a trite term, but Jupiter really does bring more to us. And since we're dealing with Taurus, we're talking about all of those, senses, our five senses and all of the things that bring us pleasure, as well as the essentials in life. So we're going to be feeling more happiness, more joy, more fertility, more growth, just that really abundant feeling, more money, more, prestige, more success. So we could feel like that Sun Jupiter, if we haven't felt it already up until this time. When the moon conjoins Jupiter, that's really when we could feel that success that has built up in our life. Maybe that is when it decides to manifest for us. So it's really just sort of like bringing the best in your life to the fore. So, and when we have aspects with the moon, that really brings it into a personal realm. So rather than it being a mundane out there in the grander, the wider world, we're bringing it home with the moon, because the moon has to do with our own habits, rituals, our own bodies, our own personal environments, how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture others. It's it's really the circumstances that we find ourselves in. And so when that moon is conjoining Jupiter, we're going to feel more abundant, more creative, really like, a good boost, a good positive boost in our lives. So that is really nice. Then the other thing that is happening on Tuesday is that this moon is going to be making her third quarter square to the sun. So this is the final quarter in the lunar cycle of the month. So whatever intentions you set out with the new moon in Cancer, which happened at the beginning of the month, or I guess it was mid-September, is when the new moon in Cancer happened, because we started this month, August, with our full moon. And so now we're going on to the third quarter moon. So we have another week before this moon is going to make the new moon in Leo, which is coming up towards the end of the month. Let me double check the time that we're going to have that new moon. Our new moon in Leo is going to be on the 16th, August 16th. So that's next week. So that's a week away. So the third quarter phase is all about, my favorite analogy is making wine. So we set out our, we planted our seeds for our grapes with the new moon in Cancer, and that would have been intentions that revolve around family, your home life, feeling comfortable, feeling secure, feeling safe in the world. And then we had the full moon, which is where all of those intentions kind of come to fruition, and you see what your seeds have developed into and what you can then harvest. And so then you collect your bounty. It's sort of a culmination point, the full moon, and it's also sort of an ending of that the start of the lunar month. And then we get to the third quarter, and it's like taking those grapes that we picked off of the vine, and then instead of eating them and sharing them with everybody, we decide that we need to stomp on them and turn them into wine. So we're taking something that we've already manifested, that we've already harvested, that's already come to a culmination point or a peak point or fruition, and we're changing it into something that is more long lasting, that's going to outlive us. Because as the moon gets closer and closer to the sun, closer to her new moon, where she goes dark and she disappears from the sky, that's sort of like the time in the plant cycle, like of the grapevine, where the fruit has fallen off and the fruit is going into its, it's dying, the leaves are starting to dry up, and it's going into its dormant phase before it would then renew itself in the next spring, right? So, but at that time we're putting out, the last burst of fruit, and then also things are going to seed, and the seeds are what is going to, continue the whole life cycle of the plant, right? So this is where we are taking whatever has culminated, and we are turning it into something else that can outlive us. We're making something into our legacy, so to speak. So, and it's usually, the third quarter phase is usually something that we've already put in a ton of work on. It's another manifestation point of the lunar cycle where events do happen and occur, but it's not like we are making something brand new, like with the first quarter phase of the moon. That's taking those seeds and we're making something brand new, like the flowers are starting to bloom from the new seeds. This is where we're taking something that we've already put in a lot of work, and we are changing it into something else that's going to endure. So I love this phase of the moon because it's really, it's bringing something, it's changing something into something that is long lasting, which is really neat. So that is happening on Tuesday. The other thing that's happening on Tuesday is that this moon, if I advance this just a little bit, this moon will conjoin Uranus on Tuesday. So we'll go up here we go. Moon and Uranus are conjoined on Tuesday evening. The exact time that they're going to conjoin is at 7:50 p.m. So I'll just bring this forward a little bit more. So that's a surprise, with the moon and Uranus conjoin, that is something, surprising happening. So it's sort of like you've made your wine, and then surprise, it gets picked up by a big company that wants to then, sell your wine off or whatever. I don't know, but in Taurus, it's going to be something that's tangible, something that's concrete, something that's more material, because Taurus is an earth sign, so we're dealing with the material realm. We're dealing with the earth, the actual physical material realm of things coming to fruition. So you could see something surprising coming in, or some sort of surprising twist that brings more abundance and fortune to your life. And then if we advance it just a little bit, on Tuesday at 8:20 p.m., so I'll just go ahead one more hour, that is when the moon, now it's off of Uranus, but is now applying to a square to Venus retrograde in Leo. And the moon and Venus in a square, this is the lesser benefic Venus, and so it's not necessarily going to be a huge, ordeal, but it could, since it is a square, it could represent challenge or conflict or fights. And we're talking more about the family dynamic, family members, maybe even specifically more women in the family that are having a bit of a struggle or, coming to a head with each other. So there could be a little bit of conflict and strife in the family unit or with loved ones or people that are close to you. But I feel like more with this, what this is going to represent is a actual turning point where whatever this Venus retrograde has been bringing up for you, you will then be sort of making some changes based on that new information. Now, for me, I know that one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is changing my wardrobe. So I feel like on Tuesday, I might actually get a little bit of energy that I actually put towards doing this. So like I might actually start to take out the pieces from my closet and start to purge things that I don't want to wear anymore or whatever, like I might be making some actual physical changes to my wardrobe. So that's just sort of an example. Venus in Leo is definitely talking about, Venusian things. So we're talking about fashion, makeup, the way that you look, anything that has to do with your senses, your sensuality, your sexuality, or anything that brings you pleasure. Those are all Venusian things. What you eat, and also whatever you find value in. So, Venus traditionally rules over things that have value, perceived value, like money and jewels and, fashion and then also the arts. So anything that you find value in during the Venus retrograde, you are going to be rethinking those things. And it really is specific to whatever house Venus is traveling through during her retrograde in Leo. And I did horoscopes for that. So if you want to know more about Venus retrograde in Leo for your particular rising sign, you can go back and check that out. But that's when you're going to be rethinking those things. So when the moon is making a square to that, that's when we're going to actually be maybe taking some actions on those things that we have been thinking about and actually doing something about them. So that's what we have to look forward to on Tuesday. Now we're going to go ahead a day to Wednesday. If we move ahead to Wednesday, the moon does ingress into Gemini on Wednesday. So I'm going to back it up hours-wise so that we can look at Wednesday earlier in the day, and then we'll go through the day. So let's see. The first thing that I wanted to talk about really is just in the morning, Venus is going to be making her square to Uranus. That's the biggest thing on Wednesday. Then the moon moves into Gemini. So let's go back to 7 in the morning is when Venus makes her square to Uranus and perfects that. So here we have Venus in Leo retrograde, 22 degrees Leo, 54 minutes, in a perfect square to Uranus, 22 degrees Taurus, 54 minutes. So Venus, Uranus square, we are looking at this. Venus squared Uranus as it was going direct when it was in shadow, her pre-shadow period before the retrograde. And that was, trying to remember exactly the date that was. I want to say, it was July 1st or 2nd. So think back to whatever was happening July 1st or 2nd, that weekend before July 4th. Those kinds of themes could be being revisited. And so think back to what you were doing on that weekend. Now we're seeing Venus retrograde making a square to Uranus. So something surprising. And I know for me, that weekend, I got a car, and it was, somewhat out of the blue, it wasn't exactly spontaneous. We had talked about it a little bit, but I was blessed with a car that weekend, and I actually found one. So that was amazing. Now, so something surprising could happen that really changes things for your future. And this could have to do with, material things, like the car is definitely a Venus thing, and Venus is going retrograde in my 3rd house of transportation, communication, daily route, all those things. So having a car come into my life was definitely a big deal for me. So wherever Venus is traveling, this Uranus is going to bring something surprising, something exciting, possibly something sudden, something unexpected that will transition things for you. So that's going to be happening on Wednesday. Now we're leading up to that all week, and then that energy is going to still be in effect for the rest of the week after this Wednesday. So this Wednesday is really sort of a peak point We have Venus square Uranus, so that's a big deal. Then right after that at 9:05, so we'll just go ahead a couple of hours, the moon moves into Gemini. So moon in Gemini is very different from moon in Taurus. In Taurus, we're focused on, sort of more of our, our five senses, what brings us pleasure, what do we feel good doing, and also the essentials in life. And it's really body focused. It's really, being inside our body and feeling things on that physical level. Once we get into moon in Gemini, we are very mentally focused. So the energy is going to shift from doing things and getting things done on a physical, mundane level to a mental level. Let's see if I can pause. Okay, one of my children just woke up, so wanted to see if I could pause the recording. Okay, I can't. We're gonna see if we can keep going here. Okay. So moon in Gemini is going to bring things into a more cerebral realm. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. We have Mercury that is in its home sign and exalted in Virgo here, applying to a conjunction with Mars. So there's a lot of mental energy, a lot of make the list and get things done on the list energy. So we're going to see Wednesday sort of an increase in that mental energy, and whatever you need to think about and really put your mind on, you're going to get a lot more drive and focus to actually do that. So this is really great for me for planning my homeschool year. It's going to give me a lot of energy to do all that planning and organizing that I need to do in my head and on paper and write all those lists that I need to write. So you might feel that same thing, that you can make a lot of lists on Wednesday, you can get a lot of things done, and you can get a lot of things planned out. Let's see. The other thing that's happening that's really exciting on Wednesday is that Mercury is going to be making a trine to Jupiter. So we're going to advance this into the evening here. We go into the evening at about 8:47, so we're just going right after 9 here. Mercury is going to form a trine to Jupiter. So we have Mercury here at 14 degrees Virgo, 32 minutes, in a trine relationship with Jupiter here at 14 degrees Taurus, 31 minutes, but obviously they just made their trine 1 minute ago in minutes of arc. So Mercury trine Jupiter is going to give us a lot of expansive mental clarity on things, and that's going to be a big nice mental boost, and we're probably going to get a lot of stuff done, and things are just going to really flow on Wednesday in terms of being able to see the big picture about what we're trying to create, what we're trying to manifest, and then get all those itty bitty nitty details lined up with this Mercury in Virgo. That's going to help us be more precise and be more practical and really get those things checked off the list, especially since we're so close to Mars. Since Mercury is so close to Mars, this is really being precise and detail oriented. And also because of that trine to Jupiter, we're having a nice big expansive overview of whatever it is. So we're able to see the big picture, but we're also able to zoom in to the itty bitty details and sort of flesh it out, so to speak. So this, for me, this feels really great as a homeschool planning week, because I get to sort of look at the whole year, and then I get to zoom in and do my detailed lists for each week, each day, that kind of a thing. So it's really, really great energy. I hope you guys also feel that within your own lives, that you're able to take that, step back and kind of take that overview of whatever it is that you're planning, and then be able to focus in on the itty bitty details and flesh it out. So I love that energy. We're going to be finding, it's really positive. We're going to be finding ways to do that on Wednesday. Also, the moon in Gemini will also be making a square to Saturn. So this is really solidifying whatever these plans are, whatever we're thinking about. We are really putting them into motion, putting them down on paper. We are being serious and dedicated and, precise with what we're doing. So this is a really great work day on Wednesday. If we move ahead to Thursday, let's just go ahead to Thursday. Thursday, the moon in Gemini is going to be making 2 squares that I wanted to mention. And again, this is just really good for productivity. Let me go to my Thursday page here. All right. So Thursday, 2:02 p.m. So we're going to back it up a few hours here. All right, so Tuesday, the first thing is that the moon is going to be squaring Mercury. So the moon in Gemini is squaring Mercury in Virgo. This is, moon in Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury in Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we have a lot of mercurial energy on Thursday. And this is really great for productivity, like I said. So a couple hours later in the evening, if we just advance this to the evening, so from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m., we have this great productive time because then we have the moon making a square to Mars in Virgo. So this could be a great productive time where we are really taking that energy and we are doing stuff with it. And we're getting stuff done. We're being very productive. It's a very industrious feeling for the day. It may not be the best for, having, it may not be the best for communications. We could be very, to the point in our communications, very practical, just getting shit done kind of a vibe. And that will be great, for collaborative teamwork. We can use this energy to do that and get things done. But if other people are not on the same page as us, the moon square Mercury and also square Mars could also, because it's a square and we're also dealing with Mars, this could indicate some stress or conflict or possible arguments with people. So the best thing to do when the moon is squaring Mercury or squaring Mars is to really take a step back and just know that energy for arguments and for butting heads with people is high. And so what we need to do is think before we speak. We need to just know that some people might be a little bit more on edge, especially if they're not aware of the transits. They could be getting grabbed by them and be a little bit more, quicker, have a quicker temper, so especially with children, we're dealing with the moon. Moon represents children. Sometimes, you're trying to get stuff done. You have a list of things you want to accomplish and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, whatever. And then kids, kind of throw things throw you for a loop. They throw things in the mix that you weren't expecting. They might throw temper tantrums or they might have specific needs that, kind of cause delays in what you're trying to accomplish. So on Thursday, it's a massive productive day, but there could be other things that, kind of other people's emotions that you have to sort of manage, or maybe even your own emotions that you have to manage with those squares to Mercury and Mars. And it's going to be, primarily focused on communication and whatever actions you're taking that day. So definitely keep that in mind, and give people grace, give yourself grace, count to 10, think before you speak, that kind of a thing. Also, whenever we're talking about Mercury and Mars getting together, I always think of car accidents. So just be very mindful when you're driving on Thursday that, especially with the moon squaring this upcoming conjunction and that conjunction getting much closer at only 4 degrees apart, just be very mindful as you're driving and be, drive offensively, right? So that, or defensively, I don't know, whatever, drive where I don't remember if it's offense or defense, which is silly, but anyway, drive with the awareness of other people being a little bit more, like they're, a little bit more road ragey, possibly, as well as possibly not paying as much attention, because with the moon in Gemini, people are lost in their heads, so they're not necessarily paying as much attention to what's in their environment. And so you could see people kind of spacing out while they're driving and kind of go on autopilot, and that with yourself as well. So definitely pay attention on Thursday for driving, Thursday and Friday, as we get closer and closer to that Mercury-Mars conjunction. All right, so that's Thursday. We're going to move on to Friday now. So I'm going to go ahead and advance this to Friday, August 11th. So on Friday, the big thing is that the moon in Gemini is going to square over to Neptune before she moves into Cancer. So let me go to my Friday notes here. All right, so if we back this up to about 1 p.m. All right, so at 1:27 p.m. Eastern Time, the moon in Gemini is going to form a perfect square to Neptune in Pisces. So here we have moon at 27 degrees Gemini in a square to Neptune retrograde at 27 degrees Pisces. So this could be a time when we feel a little bit lost, a little bit confused, Friday could feel a little bit more dreamy, or like it's like we've been pretty productive all week, but it's harder to get some things accomplished on Friday. And maybe we're getting a little bit tired, a little bit worn out, and we just need some sort of break. So, excuse me. So Friday is a nice day to have that break from the week. Hopefully you have, been productive. You feel like you've gotten a lot of things done with all of the energy, with Mercury and Mars getting closer and closer together. They are now on Friday within a 3-degree range of engagement to their conjunction. And so we're definitely going to be feeling that cerebral energy, that drive to get things done and checked off our list, the drive to clean the house, the drive to clean the car, the drive to just get things organized, all your ducks in a row. It's a really great week for that productivity as we build up to this conjunction. And so I am really loving that in terms of my homeschool planning. And also just in terms of, everybody's sort of like in August, we all kind of shift back into that back to school zone and that back to school mode, right? Where we're kind of cleaning up, finishing up the summer things that we want to do. We're trying to squeeze in those last trips that we want to do, those last trips to the museum, to the zoo, going to the pool, whatever it is. And then you get sort of ready for that transition of moving into school time. And we're getting closer and closer to that transition in the middle of August, where the sun will move out of Leo and go into Virgo, which is a great time, where we start school and everything. And so it's a really great time to do that. So we're sort of cleaning up those last things that we want to do in the summer. We're getting our last hurrahs out, so to speak. So that Mercury and Mars building up to their conjunction is really great for that energy. And also with the trines that have happened over to Jupiter. So it's really it's a productive week. It could also be a very fun week where things are happening. And we have that square going from Venus. First we start off the week basically with still that Sun square Jupiter, and then we're, midweek we have Venus square Uranus, and then we are finishing the week here with this Moon square Neptune. So I feel like on Friday we're going to want to chill. We're going to be like, okay, we got lots of things done. It's time to chill. It's time to take a load off. We're going to watch a movie. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to go out dancing or whatever. And it's a nice time to actually take some action to do something restorative. So I like that energy for Friday. Then the moon moves into Cancer on Friday. So that will be happening in the evening on Friday. So if we advance this to a little bit after 6:52 p.m., so we'll go to after 7, the moon's going to move into Cancer. Moon is at home in Cancer, so she loves being there. It's also a more intuitive space, a more emotionally in tune space. It's where, we really want to get comfortable. So this is a nice moon to have for the weekend coming up. So you have this really productive week, getting lots of stuff done, some surprises, some sudden advancements, some things that are kind of moving it along. And then you have the weekend that's coming up with this moon in Cancer. So it's really nice to have a nice sort of like at-home weekend with family, with friends, do a barbecue, whatever, nice summer things. It's a really great moon to have for the weekend energy, and I'm really loving that. You can concentrate on your family, your friends, and just having a nice good time and a sort of a chill weekend. So the moon in Cancer is going to be making trines over to Saturn and Neptune, which are positive. It's going to be making sextiles over to the Mercury-Mars energy in Virgo, and also sextiles to the Jupiter and Uranus energy in Taurus. The only thing that's a little edgy for the moon that we're going to be dealing with the moon in Cancer is that she will be making squares to the nodes, and she will also eventually oppose Pluto in Capricorn, but that'll be towards the end of the weekend or Monday. So there you have it. That is our weekly overview, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'll be back on Friday to talk to you about the weekend. Oh, okay, honey, hold on one second. There's my cue. Talk to you guys later. Bye.